Okay. Welcome to our weekly New Gambia platform. Today is June 12th, 2022. Today we're gonna talk about celebrating World Ocean Day 2022, revitalization, our collective action for the ocean. We have our guest here, Mohammed Hydra, from Secretary General of the Gambian Environmental Alliance, GEA. And I have my co-host here, Famara Drame from Maryland, New York. And we have another person joining by the name Omar A. Saho. So welcome, guys. Later on, we're gonna have Sam Sise join us, one of our co-hosts as well. So I'm your host from New York, Mamoudou Somare. So let's get into the program by introducing ourselves. We can start with Mohammed Hydra. If you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sawane. Good afternoon to all viewers that are joining us. I am Mohammed Hydra, Regional Environmental Award for Gambia, which is a civil society organization that focuses on the marine and coastal environment of the Gambia to mitigate marine debris that normally affect our fish and other marine species. So I'm also a very passionate person when it comes to environmental conservation, and I have did a lot of work with students from the university as well as students that are high school and university school, as well as work with government institutions to make sure that I also contribute my quota as a civilian, toward the national development goals that is geared toward protecting SDG 14, that is life below water. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that brief introduction. And we have our co-host, Famara. Famara, if you can introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Sawane, and then our guest today, Mr. Mohammed Hydra, the Secretary General of the Gambia Environmental Alliance. And then, of course, we have Omar A.J. Sao as well, who is also a very good environmentalist, doing a lot of work in the Gambia. And I think we're happy to have him here as well. So my name is Famara Drame. I'm from Brufut originally, but currently in the US. I'm an environmental operator with working with the Charles County government at this point in time, but I used to work for the Gambia government. I worked for the Department of Parks and Wildlife for 15 years, and then I went to the National Environment Agency for 5 years, where I work as a program officer for coastal and marine environment. And then also, currently, I'm also running an NGO in Gambia and the executive director of the Gambia Wildlife Conservation Trust. So it's an NGO that is very active in wildlife conservation and biodiversity issues, climate change, and then other, environmental related. So we work hand in hand with other partners on the ground, the Eco Travel, the Gunjur Youths, and now the Gambia Environmental Alliance, the Gambia Ozone Heroes. So also I'm a United Nations Fellow on climate change and ozone affairs and law of the sea. I had the opportunity to be at the United Nations for 9 months, and I was selected by the Division of Ozone Affairs and Law of the Sea to do some research on climate change and then ozone affairs in Gambia. So I had the opportunity to do some work on coastal erosion in Gambia, which I did a study on. And from there on, I went to the World Maritime University to complete the research over there. So I am official UN fellow on ozone affairs and law of the sea. And I also had the opportunity to be selected as the Young African Science Fellow for Climate Change by UNESCO, and then Intergovernmental Organization for Ozone Affairs as well. So I'm very much passionate about ozone affairs issues and climate change, biodiversity conservation. So I'm very happy here today to be part of the co-host and joining our guest, Omar, and then also Mohammed, to talk about ozone issues today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for that brief introduction. And Pamara, you guys are all seasoned environmentalists, I can see. I am the only one in the IT world here. So are we gonna go to Omar? Omar, if you can briefly introduce yourself. We can see you, and we have another person, Suleiman Sijata, I believe, and then we have Adesina David. So we have a couple of people on board today.
Yeah, Suleiman is all the way down in India. He's he's working with the Department of Forestry, and then he's also pursuing his degree over in India, one of the universities over there. So he's also a very seasoned environmentalist. And then Mohammed shared this Zoom link in the forum that Suleiman is. So I guess you were getting a lot of other people
joining. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, they're all welcome. They're all welcome because today we have to celebrate this day. So we can go to our friend here, Umar. If you can briefly introduce yourself, Umar.
Well, thank you so much, Muhammad Mamadou Sawane and then Famara and Mohammed Haidara here. It is my pleasure to join all of you guys today. I am Omar A.J. Saha from Gunjur, but currently based in Washington State, Seattle. I am a trained environmentalist and I've been in the field for the past 8 years. I got a master's degree in environmental science, and then I have been actively passionate about preserving the 70-meter coastline of the Gambia, because this is where I focused my thesis on. I studied about sea turtles. That was where I got my concentration on. But my expertise basically centered on the Gambia Fisheries Regulation, the NEMA Act, the Wildlife Act, and all of those stuff in the country. So I'm mostly from the policy angle. So I look at how do we ensure that we have strong policies in the Gambia, not only to have those policies, but how do we ensure we implement them, and what are the various gaps and also the various lapses between all those various policy dimensions. And then that being said, ocean is a very important aspect for our economy, for our livelihood, and internationally, Gambia is part of so many treaties. So celebrating World Ocean Day is an important aspect of the work we are doing over the past 8 years. So I'm here to join all my colleagues to discuss about this important day.
Excellent. So we have others whose faces we are not seeing, but if they wanted to just introduce yourself before we jump in, we would be definitely glad for that before we start getting into the program. Is there anyone there who's just want to introduce themselves, who will be speaking, or they just gonna be listening?
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Suleiman. I'm fine. I am Aliu Sow. I am the national coordinator of the network of the farmers organizations, Fisheries, Livestock, Environment and Forestry, NACOFAG, known as NACOFAG in the Gambia here. It's my pleasure to be part of this very important August gathering on ozone matters. Thank you very much. I'll come back later to share also our part on this very important day. Thank you.
Very good. All right. So we have also Abby and Adesina also as well.
Yeah.
If any one of you want to just introduce yourself, if you're going to be speaking, that would be good.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay, hold on. Let me turn my camera on.
Yeah, because our viewers are definitely actively engaging on the comment section. So
okay,
if it is not going to be a problem, if your face can be seen, then that's fine.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Additional David Davis, and I'm the field and lab technician for the Great Institute and also the lead volunteer for the Gambian Ocean News.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So Adesina David, so we have lineup of very what do you call it?
Can I come in now?
Yeah, you can come in before we jump.
Okay. Good afternoon once again. I'm Suleiman MS Jang, staff of Department of Forestry and Environment. I'm as Communication and Extension Unit Assistant, but currently, as Famara said, I'm pursuing my degree in Forest Science in India here. And also, right now, am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, right now, I'm serving as a current coordinator for West African Youth Initiative on Climate Change, AIC, as co-opted member, and also I'm serving as the current president of Civic Institute, which comprise of 63 countries and 98 students who are pursuing right now their degrees on different fields. As I'm speaking right now, in the college here, we have an organization called Conservation Organization. I am the president of that organization in India here. So thank you so much, and I'm very delighted to meet Famara and Mr. Sawane as well, and the rest of the team in the meeting right now. I wish we have a successful meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Suleiman. Okay, so the other ones have been seen, but I think we can just they can comment if they want to talk, and then while they comment, they can also introduce themselves, right? Just so we can jump into the program. So I'm your host, Yamu Swane. I've been here in the US since '92, and I studied here both undergrad and graduate level. I'm the founder of the Gambian Youth Organization. And I'm also, the pioneer of Gambian Alliance, and as well as the New Gambia platform. So I am also passionate about environment, but my focus area is community organizing and engagement, making sure that people who don't have the resources, giving resources to have equity and uplift their lives. So that has been my focus, but I'm an IT major. I'm an IT support specialist. I've been working in the IT field for over 20 years. Yeah, basically that's the little bio about me. And then right now we can just jump into the program if you guys don't have anything else to add. Okay, so right now, our guest here is, our main guest is Mohammed Hydra, but we have all the supporting folks here because they are all knowledgeable. I'm so proud today. I didn't know, I never knew Gambia has this much knowledge, of folks specialized studying and then, getting to know our environment, are so concerned about our environment and dedicating their life. This is so much, I thought Mvamara and few are the ones passionate about this field, but today I can really walk out of here with so much pride that we have folks of this young, talented, people who are working towards making our environment better. So thank you, guys. So what does this day mean? I mean, the World Ocean Day, and how can you guys, how does it come about? Can we allow Suleiman to go first, and then we can take it from there? I cannot hear you, Mvamara. You are muted.
Yeah, so Mohammed is our guest right now. So we're just gonna ask Mohammed, why are we celebrating World Ozone Day, and what are some of the activities that his organization did recently in celebration of the World Ozone Day. And also we know he is currently the Secretary General of Gambia Environmental Alliance, but he has worked with Gambia Ozone Hero before, just like as Adesina right now. So maybe Mohammed can give us a little bit background about why do we celebrate the Ozone Day, the Gambia, for example, in our case. Why is it so important? Why is the ozone so important for us, Mohammed, that we have to, the United Nations had to, specifically, set up this day, to reflect or to remember, the roles the ecosystem services that the oceans are playing in our socio-economic development and environmental protection.
Thank you, Mfawa. Thank you. Mohammed, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Drame, and thank you very much, Mr. Sawane. Once again, to the viewers, I am Mohamed Head, the Secretary General of Gambia Environmental Alliance. World Ocean Day is a very significant day because it helps us, especially a nation that is a coastal country like the Gambia, to reflect on one of its key natural resources, because the Gambia, if you know the beauty of the Gambia, can only be relate with the ocean, because we have the Atlantic Ocean from the west, and we have the beautiful river that separate the country from north and south, but yet still when it comes to awareness and people orientation about, our aquatic system, people have the importance or the of this system. So they help us, we the activists, as well as government officials, as well as, other advocates and youth leaders to, remind the people that how essential the ocean play. What are some of the key factors that the ocean normally supports, depending from their livelihoods, as well as their life, like the oxygen that we breathe coming from the ocean, the food that we receive, majority of it are all coming from the ocean, and the ocean being our main source of cheap protein. Our ocean giving us medicine, our ocean serving as a, boosting our economy, because but yet still people don't know the significance of the ocean. So this day, whereby we shed light on facts, and as well as we emphasize that it should be a concerted effort, that need to come from the civil society organization, that need to come from government, that need to come from private sector, whereby we could consolidate our ideas, our opinions, and in such a way that we could put up a mechanism that could help our nation thrive by using the own resources in a sustainable way, as well as enriching our resources, so that it could at least reflect themselves that has benefit from it. So this is what a very important day, especially for a nation like the Gambia. Yeah, that is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, recently, in celebration of the Ozone Day, you guys did a caravan in Combo South in collaboration with the Greenpeace. Can you tell us how did that caravan tour goes, and what was the message that you were putting across to the people of Combo South or to the Gambian people?
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Famara, because for us this time around, in collaboration with Greenpeace and many civil society organizations, we collaborate with Greenpeace to make sure that we reach out to the people, because we felt like, we have conducted so many activities, which have not yet still not engaged, the community people that are benefiting from this marine and coastal environment. So this caravan tour was a good initiative that helped us to meet out to these people that are affected, with certain pressing issue that have to, relate with the ocean, as well as our, aquatic ecosystem. So what we did was like, we reached out to, the fisher folks, reached to the women, and also reached out to certain, stakeholders of the community, to make sure that we remember that how significant the ocean play and why this coastal community are important. So our target was in 3 coastal community, which is Sanyang, Gunjur, and Katong, because we felt like this environmental pressing issue, especially when it comes to the marine environment, it's not only the problem of Sanyang people, it's not only the problem of Gunjur people, it's not only the problem of Katong people. This is a national problem, because the marine species that is called Katong, Gunjur, and Sanyang are the same. They are the main supplier, community that are far away from the coastal community. Areas like Berikama, areas like, all the way to Basse, all their supply are coming from this coastal community. So, but yet still this coastal community are facing pressing issue that have our observation belief have resulted to the price hike in some of the fish price that we have nowadays in our market. So we felt like, this need a concerted effort, whereby, we need to reach out to these people, reach out to this community, and start in solidarity with them that we are all crisis together. And we will definitely make sure that, we amplify our voices together, and we combat, in a form of a group that is an alliance, as well as other members, and we share the message in different sectors. Whereby we have others that are expertise in watch others that are expertise, in marine conservation, others that are expertise when it comes to humans, affairs, able to guide on those things to make sure that not only to focus it on like the marine aspect, but as well as, even the sand mining. These are all pressing issues because are all connected to the ocean. Because if you have all the entire sand along those coastal communities, at the end of the day, you are making those communities vulnerable to sea level rise. So we address all these things, and not only as well, but most local vegetables that are supplied in the market, most of these coastal communities, their gardens are within those coastal areas. So, and they are the main supplier of the local market. So obviously, if those livelihoods are affected, we are also affected. So we make sure that we reflect and stand in solidarity with these people and emphasize the fact that, this caravan tour is here for the people to make sure that let them know we are aware of their consequences, and we will definitely continue to advocate for, government with certain contract with certain mining companies and certain, fish meal factories to make that a proper standardized system is put to make sure everyone have a balanced ecosystem, but not an ecosystem whereby it will be over profit, but not in the best interest of the people that are, where all these resources are coming from. So this was our aim and objective of the caravan tour, and we are glad to say that we have achieved this because we meet the gardeners, meet some of the fisher folks, meet as well as some of the key stakeholders that are within those communities.
Thank you. Thank you. So before we come to Mr. Sow of Narcofag and Suleiman, I would like to ask Omar, because he's from Combo South, and he's also very active in environmental advocacy, especially in the area of fish meal factories operating in Combo South, but also the sand mining, because Omar did his dissertation or thesis on sea turtles. We know that the sea turtles definitely, they depend on those they need the beach sand to be able to lay eggs, they can spend time in the water, but they come out during breeding season to lay eggs. And these are the very areas that have been mined for construction. So when we take out all this beach sand, then the habitat for the marine turtles will be affected. So Omar, we know ozones play a very key important role in the biology of the sea turtles when they are in the water, but also when they come offshore, they are also faced with challenges. So as a native and as an environmentalist who've been advocating for the operation of fish meal in Combo South, and also the protection of marine turtles based on the eco travel, your recent turtle hatchery that we have seen in Combo South. What do you think ozones are playing in terms of protection of our biodiversity in the ozone, but also offshore when they come shore, the habitats, the ecosystem services that are providing, these creatures in the ozones? What is your take? What is your take on this issue, Omar?
Well, just to give a basic brief context, the Canadian International Institute for Environment came up with the idea of observing World Ozone Day in 1992 at the conference, the UN World Conference on Environment and Development at Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, because they observed that ozone plays an important role. The entire planet is covered 70% by the ocean, whether it's the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and all of those oceans. But it also produces 50% of the oxygen that we breathe. And also above, it sinks 30%. We're talking about numbers here of the entire carbon dioxide, the CO2 that the entire world produces. So if you take about what Gambia produces in terms of CO2, the US, the UK, and all of those countries. So most of those oceans, the carbon dioxide sits into the ocean down there. If you look into the ozone, it provides livelihood. If you talk about livelihood, that might be in great terms. We talk about food, for example, to a lot of people, the fish that we eat, we consume. You look at the other fish like the dolphins, the crustaceans, the dolphins, the whales, also live in that particular ocean. These are like important monetary value for destinations that promote whale watching or dolphin watching. It provides money for them. But if you look at sea turtles, somebody might be like, hey, why do we care for turtles? Turtles are like important key species. Any ocean or any destination around the world, whether it be Costa Rica, Brazil, Indonesia, Southeast Asian countries, and even like places like Seychelles, places like in part of Nigeria, Guinea-Bissau have the highest density of sea turtle nesting in the West African countries. Basically, it tells you that this marine ecosystem, this particular coastal community is having a very, very vibrant, healthy ecosystem. That's why we have seasonals here. In great terms, seasonals are very important because wheresoever they are, it's having a thriving algae or seaweed, because they live on seaweed, they live on algae, and all of those things are very good in terms of the food chain, because some species feed on seaweed and also on microalgae. So if you look at the Gambian coastline, kind of narrow down things, the 70-meter coastline of the Gambia from Bunyado in the north to Kato in the south, usually very rich for sea turtle nesting. The green turtle, the leatherbug, the olive redley, and all of those other species use the Gambian coast to do the nesting. For the acquisition that thrived. And then if you look at the entire coastline of the Gambia, if you look at the Bacchaus, the Senegambians, the Kotus, and then even some part of Burfoot, it's where we have higher concentration of hotels, which means tourism development overlap with conservation in that particular aspect. Sea turtles are not very good in terms of lighting. If you have light from the hotels, they get disoriented, and then they can lose their focus when they are offshore to lay their nest. Okay, recording in progress. That shows that there are various concerns in terms of the way we are dealing with human interaction with nature. Some part of these areas also have sorry, I get distracted a little bit. Some part of these areas also have a higher foot traffic because of the human population density along the coast of the Gambia. All of us want to move down to coastal areas. So this has resulted in extraction of sand dunes that are within the coastline to build our houses. So sea turtles, they lay their legs on the coastline at the sandy beaches. So once we have the human interference of extracting the sands along those areas, that shows that the nesting habitat of these sea turtles are shrinking. They are reducing in terms of where can they potentially lay their eggs. So this has been a major problem that we have in Sanya, that we have in Gunju, that we have in Skato area, because most of the sand mining areas are very, very close to the seashore. So once the entire dunes of these areas are extracted, it affects the population dynamics. It affects how the population can bounce back and thrive, so that we can have at least a very good, exponential growth in terms of their population growth. That has been a major challenge. So there has been a major focus for CSO, civil society organizations in Sanya, in Gunju and Karon, to see how best we conserve sea turtles, not only for their population to bounce back, but how can also Gambia promote what we call sea turtle tourism experience. How can tourists come down to the Gambia? They are not only going to be enticed, or they're not going to be only interested about the beach, the sea, the culture, but also they might be so much about the biodiversity. Not only the bird watching, but how can also involve in conservation experience of watching the sea turtles in the Gambia. This is why we come with a hatchery program in Gunju and also have a hatchery in Katon. The hatchery in Katon was the first start in the country that was sponsored by the then British High Commissioner, Sharon. Sharon was the one that sponsored the hatchery in Katon. They were working with Sandeli Foundation, Jerry and Maurice. So through the hatchery in Katon, they were able to train folks in Gunju and in Katon and Sanya to become sea turtle volunteers. This is why we have the people like Lamin Jasi, the people like Hussein C, and other people in those two communities. So once the Katon one was successful, in terms of numbers, they were able to collect about 12,000 eggs. They hatched them, about 8,000 of those eggs were able to go back into the water. We are able to have another project in Gunjo between 2015, 16, and 17. We are able to also at least release more than 300 young sea turtle hatchlings back into the water. That's talking about the numbers. But then, if you look at the issue of sand mining, the big trucks, the human traffic, the foot traffic around that area, because wheresoever you have excavation going on, there's a lot of noise pollution, and that noise pollution also affects the turtle nesting. If there's habitat encroachment, if there's excavation down there, all of those things affects the numbers or the chance of having this turtle trapping back. Above all, then you have the issue of the fish mills. Wheresoever there is fish mills, we are talking about how can we sustainably harvest our fish resources. There has never been any sustainability in the Gambian context because there are a lot of fishing activities in our water by the Senegalese fishing boats, by the Gambian fishing boats, looking at the number of, quantity that they catch can meet the demand of the fish meal factories down there. That also makes a big impact on the turtle species because, turtles get struck by boats, they get hit by fishing boats, they get entangled in the fishing net, and also the potential nesting locations also have been encouraged by some of these factories along the coast of the Gambia. So that has been a major challenge because the Gambia is located on the West African marine ecoregion, which means we have the highest diversity of this population across the entire world. This is where you have the Gambia, Senegal, Mauritania, the Guinea-Bissau located. So this is a major focus for environmentalists and people that are involved in conservation to see how best we raise awareness, how best do we sensitize the people, the government, the NGOs, the non-state actors to put their hand on the desk to see how best can we sustainably manage not only the sister roles, but the dolphins and the whales, and above all, the fish, because Gambia, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, and Mauritania, they have their cheapest sources of protein from the fish that they eat. And in that regard, we believe that if we don't put strong efforts in place, if we are not working collaboratively, there might be some challenges down the line that is going to affect our future generations. So on that regard, I'm going to leave the floor to other people, then I can come back again.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Farmer, you are on mute.
Yeah, I think we can get Mr. So on NACOFAC at this point because he is the president of the National Farmers Platform of National Farmers Association. Mr. So, what project are you working on right now for NACOFAC, and whether your intervention areas include coastal and marine areas or anything like that? Because I know you deal with farmers and our food basket with the farmers right now, because your role is very important when it comes to food sustainability or food security in our country. So what project is NACOFAC working on right now, and whether or not you are intervening in coastal and marine areas? I know fisheries is something that you also deal with as well, because some of your members are from the fisheries organization. So can you tell us, Mr. So, any project that NACOFAC is doing now, and if you want to tell us more about NACOFAC?
All right, thank you very much for inviting me. As the national coordinator of NACOFAC, we are involved in several projects and activities that has a bearing with the ozone, that has a bearing with our fisher folks family at both national, regional, and at global level.
Right.
As it can be recalled that the issue of the ozone is a paramount concern in terms of food security, in terms of nutrition security, as well as employment security for our young people. So NACOFAC management and leadership is very much cognizant of this, and we work closely with the World Fisher Forum and Fish Harvesters Association. We also work with the IPC, that is a branch under FAO that is also looking into fisheries sustainability. We have been blessed to have work on a project with the Global Agricultural Food Security GAFSIP through the then first day project in promoting aquaculture schemes. Now, some of our members across the country, the inland fishers, benefited from this scheme, all geared towards seeing how best we can sustainably manage the remaining stock of the fish species in our ozones. We are cognizant of the fact that the ozone is getting exhausted, is getting trouble as a result of pollution, as alluded to by previous speakers, also as alluded to by overfishing, and also as a result of using trawlers, using fishing companies that are coming into our ozone, depleting our fisheries resources. So as a result, we have an office space, we have a complex around Tanje, where we monitor the activities of the fisher farmers, where we monitor the activity of the livelihood of the fishers, and also we monitor the activities of those involved in the fisheries marketing, like the Fish Smokers Association that we work closely, the Fresh Food Sellers Association, we also work closely with them. And at the moment, I'm happy to inform you that NACOFAC will be attending the World Ozone Conference in Lisbon, in Portugal.
Wow. Yeah, can you hear you? You are not hearing you. We can't even see you, Aliu. Vamara.
Yes. I don't know. Mr. So is not audible. I can't hear him anymore.
Can we move to the there's another lady there that maybe we can get her perspective on it as well. She was on the camera before, yeah. Forgot her name. Is it Abby? Is he there?
Abby, yes, Abby is there. I think he's part of Mohammed's group on the Environmental Alliance, if I could recall. Is that true, Mohammed? I think I could sound the name from one of the meetings we had. Abby was there. So I don't know whether Abby wants to talk or you just want to listen. But Abby, if you want to talk or you want to introduce yourself, you can do so as well.
Yeah, I don't think Abby is
yeah. Okay, that's good. And also, I think I see Dauda here. I don't know whether it's Dauda sent from the NAFO, National Association of Artisanal Fisheries. If it is Dauda, then Dauda probably would be good to hear from you right now if you also have any contribution or if you want to continue listening. And I also see Seni here. I don't know which Seni is it. But then right now, I think we can go back to Mr. Sawane. Do you have any other questions you want to ask?
Yes. So my thing is though this great initiative protecting our ocean, making sure that these animals that feed from these oceans are being are having the habitat needed. So what are the current state, the hurdles within?
Can I come back again? Sorry.
Oh, Mr. So is back.
Can I come back again? Yes. Sorry for the electrification interruption.
Okay.
Like I said, we will be attending the UN Ozone Conference on the 27th of June in Lisbon and Portugal. All right, we will also be part of the fish farmers, where I will be presenting regarding the fish. It's a side event that is organized by IPC, IITC, and WFFP, among others, to make sure that we can, before our high-level delegations from each country and from the global UN agencies, we can make our own declaration in terms of the ozone people rights. We are aware of the fact that the decision taken during the conference is more of a political declaration by the United Nations of Ozone Conference. But at the same time, for us at our level, the Ozone People Conference is a counter event to the United Nations Ozone Conference, in which ozone people will sit together and talk about ozone people's rights, their violations. They are suffering, and the blue economy. The conference will deal with customary identity and historical rights ozone peoples are entitled to, but denied. And this is also applicable in the Gambia, because to some level, our customary right as fisher farmers, our identity and our historical rights have been shattered. So as a result of that, we will be part of a very high-level delegation that represents the fisher folks at the global conference in Lisbon to make sure that we share our views. That's why I was very much interested to be part of this call in a bid to be able to also expose our position as NACOFAC, as Farmers, Livestock, and Fisher Organization Network. We are aware of the fact that at this level, I'm talking at both national and global context, the conference will include a political statement. It will be an online on the 26th and 28th and the 30th of June. Maybe when we receive the contacts, we will share with you, some of you people, so that you can be part of it, especially Mr. Hydra, because we want to bring together different regions and different actors, Hydra, Aludeto, as well as the. So NACOFAC project at the moment is working towards the fisher people, right? The development of the fishers organizations at country level. We are part of the West Africa Fisheries Framework, organized by the Network of Peasants and Producer Organizations, based in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, Ropa. So all this is geared towards enhancing the potential and the position and the needs and concerns of the fisher farmers at common voice. I will be very much privileged to partner and to work with all of you to make sure that we have a common front in order to preserve and protect our ozone and the only river Gambia.
I think Aliu is the network is having issues.
Yeah, it's breaking up. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
I say very good to hear from him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So back to the question I'm asking, what are the hurdles that we are facing in trying to maintain this habitats for these animals, these sea animals, and then other ocean other ocean creatures? What are the hurdles there? So if we can identify those, and then we can move on to the solutions. What are the solutions that you guys are putting in place?
Well, if I can come in, one of the main challenges we have in the Gambia is precisely overfishing in terms of like the number of fishing boats we have in our own waters. That's one major challenge. But also those fishing boats are using like different or round-sized net. There's in the nylon type of net that is like catching almost every type of fish, juvenile fish, matured fish, pregnant fish, every type of fish. There is no strong monitoring and regulation from the Department of Fisheries because they don't have the resources. We don't have the Gambian Navy or the Coast Guards patrolling our beach. That's another major challenge we have down there. But also, we don't also have the political willingness to also look at how best do we ensure the fish resources of Gambia serve the interest of the Gambian people. If you also want to do negotiation for international deals with foreign corporations or investors, how do we ensure you also empowered your local additional fisheries investors or the local people involved in this industry as a means of livelihood? There has not been any clear cut between what sort of policies do we have in terms of investment and how do we ensure that we also protect and serve the interests of our local people, not only for those who are involved in the business, but those who know that they depend on fish as their main, bread basket for their daily meal. So there has been a lot of policy laws, policy shortages from here and there. There is not that much resources available for the custodians of our ocean, and there's not been that much of sensitization and knowledge from the local communities across the country.
Excellent. Yeah. Any other thing, Haidara, Mohammed? Any other issues, hurdles that we are encountering?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Sawane. I think what Omar said is right. So just to iterate, most of the things that our coastal and marine ecosystem are right now facing is we call solid waste. It's based on the plastic, the waste that people go when, especially picnickers, and especially as well as our fishers as well, because most of them, when we normally conduct a survey, when I was the coordinator for Gambia Ozone Hero along the 65-kilometer coast, or we go all the way to 71-kilometer coast, all the way to Bara as well. We conduct this coastal survey to ensure that we know the amount of pollutant that are found within the coastline. So based on those surveys that we realized that the significant growth of plastic is definitely growing on the coast of the Gambia, because most of the fisher folks, they normally drink a huge amount of coffee tuba, and this coffee tuba they normally put the coffee inside a plastic single-use cup, so which is one of the key pollutant in Tanje, one of the biggest fish inside, as well as Sanyang and Gunjur. So when we talk about other areas like Bakau and then areas like Bara, those areas, what we normally find, especially Bakau, we are significant of fishing gears that are on there, which is very detrimental to the marine environment, because those gears enter inside the sea, normally serve as like what we call ghost net. So what do you mean by ghost net? These are nets that are hunting on their own without anyone using it. So therefore, it could be risk to what Omar is trying to protect, which is the turtle, and it could be risk to as much as the fish that we only benefit from. So this is not we observe, and not only that, but we also know that there have not been a standardized, improper management system, especially when it comes to the people that are responsible as the custodian of our marine and marine environment. Because why I say this is because if you observe this mill issue, is because it's based on conflict of interest based on our own observation, because we understand that the community people are not benefiting from the fish that are normally caught by the local fisher folks, but are normally sold straight to the fish mill factory. So we believe it be, another mechanism that need to, cut that change from happening and make sure that our market are well supplied. So this is another challenge that I believe is faced by the marine, and as well as the issue of the sand mining as well, because it is another challenge that most coastal communities are facing. The sand mining affect both affect the livelihood of the women gardeners, also affect our lagoon environment, because these are something that affect the coast, because currently we did the caravan tour. We went to certain women's garden, and then we saw, the mining conducted in polluted garden of women that are on the coast. These are all things need to factor out in the marine environment, as well as, the fishing factory or the day ocean, by the entire world. On that day, even the lagoon and the fish mill factory was also polluted with waste processing fish that they did, meaning that turned the lagoon into red color, which is sad, and it could be so to the marine that connect all the way to seafood. So which is another key change in the things that we are facing. So I will highlight on those areas, and I believe my other colleagues will also highlight some other areas that I challenges to the coastal.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, just a brief addition. There's this issue of overlapping responsibility between the government agencies too, because you have the Ministry of Fisheries and Water Resource taking care of fish resources, and then all policies regarding fish management, conservation, licensing, all of those stuff for the same boat. But then you have Department of Parks and Wildlife Management taking care of the conservation of some key species like sea turtles, dolphins, and cetaceans. Then you also have Department of Tourism or Ministry of Tourism and Culture taking care of the entire coastline to promote tourism around that area, promote investment around that area. But then you have the sea turtles coming offshore to a TDA zone to lay their eggs. Then you have geology giving license to mine that area. You wanna develop your coastline for tourism. You have another government agency giving license to excavate the entire coastline. This so that what we call the unspoiled beach. So these are all issues that affect the coastline and the marine environment of the Gambia. This overlap institutional, responsibility, oversight functions, and then some policies issues that are very, very central for Gambia to discourse and say, hey, we got to review the overlapping responsibility between all these government institutions.
Thank you.
Wonderful. One more thing, Farmer. Yeah, so you can jump in. So what are the support systems there in terms of the supports from different institutions, private entity, the government, to make sure that we keep our coastal our coast clean, habitable for these animals and so forth? Are you guys different entities are just struggling on their own, or you have allocated support budget?
Yeah, can I come in?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is
yes.
Now, Omar just like Omar just said, I think that's a very important point that I also want to talk about. That's we don't have an integrated coastal zone management, policy in the Gambia yet. I know it is in the making, and this was one of my recommendations when I went to the UN Ocean Affairs and Laws of the Sea, when I did my fellowship at the UN, and then also went to the World Maritime University. So at the end, the research that I wrote, and that's one of the recommendations I highlighted, that we need to have an integrated coastal zone management. Just like Omar said, Parks and Wildlife is responsible for marine turtles and other biodiversity and along the coast. We have the forestry managing some other parks. We have the GT board responsible for tourism, geology, mining, sand, and these are all ecosystems that we rely on to promote our biodiversity conservation and tourism. So if these government institutions are not coordinating, it's going to be difficult for us to manage our coastal zone properly. Because if NEA is saying that there should be no development between 150 meters of the high water mark, and you have the tourism department coming to encourage people to build, hotels within that zone, and you have the geology department, mining exactly in those areas that are within the coastal zone. So it's like we are not talking to each other.
Exactly.
So, but thank God, before I left the NEA, I was the project coordinator for the Gambia GCCA project, the Gambia Climate Change Alliance. I was the project coordinator for like 6 months before I left. But part of that, the outcome of that project is to have a coastal, integrated coastal zone policy for Gambia, and also have the climate change secretariat. And I'm glad that now the climate change secretariat is now already, the structure is already in place at the Ministry of Environment. And then also we have also had our integrated coastal zone policy for the Gambia, which I believe is also finalized. We need actions to, to get rectified and have the policy in. So once we have that, then we'll be able to talk together as institutions of the Gambia. But for now, we have this platform called the ICZM, or the Coastal National Coastal Marine Environment Working Group, which I was the program officer at the Coastal and Marine Environment when I was at the NEA. So this platform is there to get all the institutions together that have stake in the coastal zone. When there is a conflict between tourism and fisheries, for example, that platform can be used to resolve the conflict. And then we also even have the interministerial, that is a little bit a step above the national working group. We have the interministerial working group as well, whereby the ministers of these various institutions can talk together and then, resolve the conflict. And when our national, the higher body, which is the National Environment Secretariat, with the president is the chairman, So when we do all those in coordinations together, definitely we'll be able to work together. And our fisheries, obviously, Gambia still have potential. Like Omar said, we are one of those countries in the sub-regions that are doing very well when it comes to fisheries resources. Our policy is there, but enforcing the policy is a problem. I think now, when we reduce these fish meal factories, because they are putting a lot of pressure on our marine resources, we don't need them now, because what they are giving us as a country is less than what they are making. Gunjur alone, I think these people have over, 10,000 tons a day of a permit that these people can get fish out of our environment. And the fish that they are relying on this fish meal is the cheapest. That's the bonga fish, the Moroccos and the yaiboyos. That's the poor people can, buy, And why would you give permit to a business people who are over exploiting the same resources that the poor people depend on, to take that fish meal outside the country, to feed pigs and other aquaculture when your people need them? Mr. So mentioned in his talk, they are also going into aquaculture. So we might know that the government can even run this fish meal factory at a sustainable level where, we are not looking into profit, but also, to look into other aquaculture opportunities and other food, self-sufficiency. So I think we need to do a lot in this area. If we can manage our fisheries properly, there will be no food insecurity in our country. And then our coastal communities their livelihood improve. Our economy will also, improve a lot. But we are allowing all this to go, and then we are not getting much in return, compared to what these fish meal factories are getting. So I think it's time that we come together, review this policy, our fishing agreement properly, and see. With the EU fishing agreement, that is even better, because those ones, the EU are looking at the high value fisheries, which obviously they are good for us, but not the majority of people can afford those high value, fisheries, But the EU is paying us over 500,000 euro every year. That 500,000 can do a lot to improve our fishing sector. So I think we need to look at our fisheries policy a lot and improve on this. So thank you. I don't want to take much of the time, but I think this is.
Yeah, thank you. I think Mohammed, if Mohammed can come in, and also if Mohammed and anyone else can come in. I think Sam joined, one of our co-hosts. I don't know if you really been listening, but the point here is somebody mentioned that we have too many boats. I think it's either Omar or someone. There are too many fishing trawls that could also cause harm to the to our coastal coast. So I don't know, like what does that actually mean? That means we should minimize the number of fishing trawls in the ocean, or is it something that why would too many boats be a problem?
Well, too many boats will be a problem if you look at the population dynamics of the way you reproduce and then how do you harvest that resources down there. If the catch is more than the population bounce back rate, there's always what we call the fish stock is declining. This is the problem we have in the Gambia. When we have 3 major fish meal factories in Sanya, Gunju, and Karton, that has not been the case in the country. Yes, we can talk about development comes with implications, but the Gambia's own is at the detriment of our future generation. What we mean about that is we're having let's assume we have about 200-300 fishing boats in Gunju. That has not been the case, or in Sanya or in Karton. The main problem is they are now not going to only the mature fish, but now they're going to trap the juvenile fish, which means that juvenile fish is never going to reach maturity. If that trend continues, there's going to be food insecurity in the Gambia because the population will never bounce back to support the local economic need of the Gambian people, moreover, for foreign export. So we are looking from the particular aspect because fish lays their eggs during the rainy season time from June all the way down to September, October. This is why we have the embargo on controlled night fishing, because this is the time that they will come during the high tide to lay their eggs, and those eggs need some time to mature and also hatch. So that if you have 200, 300, 400 boats in that nesting location, that is gonna interfere with their production cycle. So if that being the case, we need strong regulations. How best do we control the catch of fish in our ocean? How best do we ensure there's at least a minimal, activity, fishing activity in the waters? This is where we have all that regulation, the surveillance, and that the patrols coming in place.
Yeah. So the only concern I have there is that when demand is high, I'm not talking about wasteful fish, like the Chinese sending these fishes to their pigs and stuff. When the demand is high and Gambian people want to eat fish, I mean, in that case, we cannot have policies that will minimize the number of boats in the water. Our population is growing.
No, this is a different dynamics. I am from Gunjur, and I've spent my entire life between that Gunjur community and in the beach. I have seen most of the Senegalese people who have moved from Senegal to Gunjur to come down to establish their families in the Gambia because we are able to at least have a good fishing industry. That was very thriving. The number of catch they were having in Gunjur prior to the arrival of fish meal factories were in fact re-exported to Senegal, Mauritania, Mali, and Guinea. You talk about the people I don't want to mention names, but there are people in Gunjur who have this big ice trucks that were able to supply not only the combos, but also as far as in Jaras, the Nyomis, the Kias. Okay. The most important is how do we add value to the fish that we are sending inland into the Gambia, to the hinterland in the Gambia? Yeah. Do we ensure that is there any storage facility? Is there any good transportation in those areas? How do we ensure that fish from Gunjur reach the remotest part of the country, the Fatuodos, the buses, and all those areas? That has been a major challenge for those folks. So when we have the fish mill now, they are what, before we burn our gas to go at least 20, 30, 40 miles in the inland of the country, why don't we after these people here? So in fact, the fish from Gunjur now never in fact reach those people in the greater part of the country.
Okay.
These are the country realities in the country. Yes, the Gambia population might be at least approximately 3 million people. The fish in Gunjur, Karton, Brufut, and Bakau can be able to feed the Gambia if it is well properly structured. Okay. But that has not been the case over the last couple of years.
All right, thank you for that. We have our before we continue, we have our co-panelist here, Sam Sise. He just joined just late. So Sam, welcome to the discussion. You can just briefly introduce yourself, and we can continue, and you can come in later to perhaps ask questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Just like you said, I'm Sam Cisse. I'm in Indiana, United States of America, and I sent a message earlier that I will be late today. And to go ahead and start without me. But wanted to take this opportunity to just say my name and get to put a name and face together and let you carry on, and I will listen. And until we get to a point where I have questions or contributions where it's my turn to say something. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. All right. Vamara, you can go ahead if you have a question.
Yeah, and thank you so much. I'm glad that Mr. So is attending the UN conference in Lisbon. Mr. So, if you go, you'll meet my people there, the Ocean Affairs, the Division of Ocean Affairs and Law of the Sea. Like I said, I was a fellow of them, and then so we'll be happy to have you. I am not going to that conference. I was in the one in the New York 2 years ago before this COVID started. So I'm glad that you are going. I don't know whether other organizations are going in Gambia, but I'm glad that you're going to be part of this the Ozone conference coming up in Lisbon. So thank you so much, Mr. So. I'm glad that the good work you are doing in the Gambia. And like you said, you were trying to collaborate with Mohammed. I think that's a very good thing. This is one of the reasons why we organize such a thing, so people can network. Because there are a lot of people doing a lot of good things in the Gambia, but then networking is our problem. And I'm glad that now we have this Gambia Environmental Alliance coming up. And then, of course, our CPOs that are active in Fishmill, in Combo South, which Omar Sao is here. His organization is one of them. And then I also have been engaged in this fishmeal things for a while now, because my mom used to sell the smoked fish in Brufut. And it's true that some of us get educated. So when this fishmeal issue started, I just put my voice to it, because I feel exactly what those people are going through. Because at the age of 7 or 8 years old, I used to accompany my sister to Brufut to go get bonga fish. And those days, while we were even young, we used to have these bananas. Back in the days when they load their basket or their bicycle at the beachside, when we push them up the hill to the main highway, those bananas will throw us a lot of fish, sometimes 3 or 4. And then if you're able to push 3 or 4 bananas in that evening, you can go out, you can go home with a lot of fish that your family is going to eat for a whole week. Sometimes when it's not finished, we'll dry them up, we'll smoke them up. So we have plenty of fish. And those days, the bonga fish are so huge, they're so big. And like Omar is saying, we're having a lot of overfishing now. It is time that we regulate the number of boats in our water. Senegal is taking advantage of us. And then they are selling those big fish to Senegal. They're only selling portion of the fish that they catch in our waters in the Gambia. Most of them are all going, and they are making good money out of it. So it's time that we review all these fishing agreements that we're having with Senegal and other countries. We need to make sure we put Gambia first. The life and the livelihood of our people comes a lot, because there are a lot of coastal communities that are dependent on these fisheries for their livelihood. When we allow others to take over their livelihood, our families are going to continue poor, and then we are going to go hungry. So somebody like me, if my mom was not very active in drying fish and smoking fish at the time, when we are going to school, we're going to be struggle, going to school to get people paid our school fees. So if our mothers can do that during those days to support, put on the table, food on the table, and as well as support our education, I think we need to continue to do that and look at other families that are not, privileged, to have that opportunity to help their families.
Thank you.
We should not forget that. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Vamara. Let's have our guest here, Mohammed, to I can kind of highlight some of the solutions. I know, Vamara, you have touched on some of them, and then Aliu as well as Omar. And then if we have Abi or any other person who would like to contribute to the their thoughts on the discussion. But our guest here, Hydra, you are on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, some of this,
Mr.
some of the
Sawane.
solution moving forward, since you are on the ground in the Gambia, with the Gambian Environmental Alliance, what are the recommendations? Some of the solutions helping our coastal inhabitants.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Sawane. I also welcome our new co-host, Mr. Cisse. Welcome on board. So, concerning the solution, the Gambia need is not something that is too big that we cannot do. One I highlight which was the improper management of our coastal and marine environment. So we believe like the fisheries department, need to do extra, because the reason why the fish is exploiting these nations because of their supply chain have not been controlled. The reason why we say this is because like if mill has a certain amount of tons of fish that you need to receive, but if like 5 boats that come from the shoreline to supply the fish meal, then the government can say, hey, only 2 boats are allowed to supply the fish meal, and then the other 2 boats can supply the local market, and there it will be balanced. Because we are in an advanced world, we definitely need the fish meal to operate in an environment, also promoting economic gain. But for it to be sustained and to balance the economy, it has to be controlled by the fisheries department. Amount go to this area to the local market. So therefore, it will be balanced. These are what we can do. And then, how can we get some of the coastal waste pollution that are happening from this fish meal? I will also recommend that we have the University of the Gambia. We have students that are, technicians when it comes to chemistry, when it comes to biology. You put them in those fish meal. You let them be the technical technician. They are there. You don't think if the government is managing that lab, you think government will litter chemical inside the boom of the Gambia? Hell no. No one will not do those things to your country. So I think all those things we are missing when the contract was done. It's always important whenever certain contract government is trying to tap in, you need to make sure that it have civil opinion. You need to have another stakeholder opinion to make sure that they balance a very fruitful structure that will guide both sectors, and something can be done. But not only that, as our marine environment is also faced by the solid waste we are talking about. So this is the plastic and the cost that we have and the fishing gears. Because of most of our coastal environment do not have waste collector area, waste collector site. They don't have it. So this is another challenge in those coastal community, because they are polluting huge amount of their producing of what waste when it comes from. We are talking about the waste fish. We are talking about we are talking about the fishing gears. All these things are all accumulating. But that there's a system that whereby the waste can be segregated, and we are also the alliance. The organization as a initiating along the coastal environment. So which we started by helping people to segregate there. We believe the more you segregate, we also create an economy as well, because separate the plastic from the metal from the organic waste from the paper. Then you are creating jobs. If someone need plastic as my raw material, I can make something out of it. If I'm someone that need the aluminum can as a raw material, I can make out of it. If I'm someone that need the organic as a, I can make out of it. So therefore, you are also creating another source of income to the coastal community as well. But all those mechanisms are still lacking, and then not only to that as well. And my colleague talking about the happening in our coastal. Definitely, it's really happening, because we even believe most of the dead turtle, most of the the sea animal that we normally find coast there, we believe have been result of trawling that is happening in our coast. Because as one of our colleagues just highlighted, Omar, that the Navy do not have the capacity to be monitoring the Gambia coastal coastline, which is not happening. And then we believe if those things were done, I believe every day we will cut certain trawlers, because we believe we have the people that are trying to exploit the Gambia coast, because they know that our security is very vulnerable, our marine security is very vulnerable. And when that happens, we are seeing a lot of dead marine species found along the coast, like dead turtle all the time, signatures of dead turtles. And when we observe those ones, you will not find any trace of any chemical being killing them. So what might result those turtles to be died? So the other alternative might be heavy trawling happening. So they were wrongly caught at the end of the day, and kill and then throw back. And when they throw it back, the waves throw it back to the shoreline. So these are things that we believe need to be, monitor and evaluate to make sure that, proper standard system is put into play. But it needs to involve a lot of key sector players, like ranging from the fisheries sector, ranging from the Gambia maritime sector, as well as ranging from the embryos to make sure that national information, things are, put in a very structured scope as the way my other colleague have just elaborated. Thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned something very important here before Umar. I know Umar is put his camera on before he comes. You mentioned two important things here, because some of us don't understand why the fishes are out there. From the sea to the land, the dead fishes. We thought that why would anybody kill the fish? All of a blue, and then they are all over, split all over the coastal area. But you mentioned that some of those are not probably poison. They are just being caught by trolls and so forth. And then maybe, so they've been killed one way or the other, because it doesn't make sense to anybody to kill those fish and throw them, out of the sea. So some of us who are not aware of this, sea, marine and sea, the way this thing works, will probably think that somebody did it deliberately. So you are saying that there is no regulation or there's no control, and people are taking advantage of our, our weak policies, our weak, government operations, government overseas to be able to do such practice. Yeah. So that is very good to know for viewers and everybody to be aware. And then secondly, you mentioned one thing also, and then the plastic and the metal recycling. That is and another thing that I think the reason why this plastic and metals makes it to the sea, to the ocean, because there's no recycling system. Maybe the Gambian government or private entities need to look at mechanism how to recycle this and reuse these materials, because otherwise it goes into waste, and then the creatures in the sea and on the soil are the ones who end up suffering. So I think that is another important area that you mentioned. So I just want to highlight that before you or Omar comes in, and then we can see if Sam has anything or anybody else.
Yeah. Just to iterate more on the back that are normally washed coastal committee. It's based on the result of the balance that I was talking about, because most of these fisher folk, they always want to sell their fish to fish meal factory. So the fish meal factory has certain significant amount of fish that they need to sell, to the fish meal factory has certain amount of fish that they need to, like, for a day. They have certain tons of amount that they need for a day. So sometimes you'll have like 5 or 6 boats will come, instead of them selling some of their stuff to the market, because the local boat do not have like a preserved system where they could cool the fish. So what ended up happening is fish that was stored in the boat, because of they need to supply it like day one, and day one they are not in the first line, so they end up hiding the fish until the following day so that they can come and sell it to the fish mill, because the fish mill is buying at bulk, but the local market is buying based on based on how to call the bana human to certain amount to the local human. Understand? So based on that, the delaying of the of fish, that normally result to most of their fish spoil. And when that happen, they normally throw those fish to the bana human. Bana humans will take those fish and then scat it and take the good ones out of the bad ones, and then later they those fish along the shoreline. So this what used to result to most of the massive dead fish that you normally see along the coast. It's because of they are almost spoiled, and now they cannot sell it to the fish meal factory now to sell it to the local women, and the local women will scat it. And we are even facing those. If you even go to around turntable, most of these areas that are where we normally women nowadays, you will find that you will charge you with each amount of fish. But check it out, mostly out of the 10 fish that they sell you, almost like 5 or 4 might not be good, but they will mix it, because those are the cheap fish that they get at a cheap price and now selling it at a very high price. So all that happening, and we believe that they really need to look into it, and to see that how they can able to protect and put the people in the rest for such things repeating, and it's continue harming people. Yeah.
Thank you. That is clear. Yeah, Omar, you want to comment, Sam?
Yeah, so since we're talking about solutions here, I think the entire governance system need to be revisited. That means right now we have what we call the state-centric. That's the government taking charge of all the governance, the policies, the implementation of the way we manage and protect this industry. In that regard, I would suggest for us to have like what you call a co-management system. That means the government as the main state actor working with non-state actors here. These are like the fisheries association, the fisher folks, local communities, the CSOs. In doing that, then they can have various input. Let's have like every quarterly meetings with all the fisher folks in the Gambia, have like at least a subcommittee at all the speeches down there. Go down there, meet with them, synthesize with them, at least share the laws that we have in the country about, and also hear their input. Why are they engaged in certain kind of activities? That is one thing. Moving from state-centric approach to more a co-management approach, governance approach will help at least bridge the gap between fishing communities and the government. Also, the government try to look at how they positioned fisheries inspectors, fishing inspectors at all these coastal communities. They have to bring in people who actually understand the industry. Not like, you know what, me and Mohamed Sawani, we are friends, and the Mohamed is looking for a job. We have a person in Gunjur as a fish inspector. I am going to put Mohamed down there. Mohamed have no idea about the fishing industry. Mohamed have no idea about his role and how does that implicate to certain kind of activities down there. They have to revisit that one. How do we ensure we have people who actually understand this industry being posted to fishing communities become like fish inspectors? That's very important. And how do we ensure in the Gambia we have what we call a quota catch system to say, you know what, this is the number of metric tons of fish that need to be cut in our waters every day, and now it's left to the fishing communities to self-mobilize themselves to say how best do we ensure, okay, you know what, in Gunjur we have 20 metric tons of fish this month. In Kadun, the same, in Sanya, the same thing. How do we ensure we have like, you know, the Navy, the Gambian Navy, have a strong base in Gunjur, in Kado, in Sanya, in Burfoot, in Baka, and in Banjo to patrol the Gambian Ocean. Because we have nautical miles, that's national boundary. How do we ensure there's not an encroachment from foreign fishing trawlers? If you are in Gunjur in a place called the Baro Sate, just offshore, you can see fishing trawlers in the water. But right now, if there's no monitoring, if there's no research, if there's no speedboats, if there's not enough manpower, if there's not enough artillery to be able to at least have that defense system down there, it's going to be very, very hard for them to control. If the Gambian people taking care of this industry are not paid enough, it is very easy for them to be complicit in corruption. These are people who carry money once they are doing these activities in the water. If somebody pull up like $10,000, say, you know what, hey, you know what, we don't want this to go to court, how do we ensure we remedy the situation here? They will be better off receiving that money than bringing those people offshore to handle the situation. So from the governance to more of like the fishing inspectors, to more of the patrol and surveillance system, we need to revisit all those systems. From there, the University of the Gambia, since we're talking about fisheries industry, it's not a major industry in our economy, needs to have a research center to look at things from management, from preservation, to processing, to governance, and all of this is how do we ensure we have Gambian people major in fisheries management, from undergraduate to graduate to postgraduate. How do we ensure Gambian people are able to study in their own country to understand about this local dynamics of the way we can protect this industry? Not only for the economic aspect in terms of GDP, but also how do we ensure local communities are able to better organize themselves to manage their activities in terms of livelihood? How do we ensure there's what you call an integrated management system between the various stakeholders? And also at the beach level, how do we ensure we also provide capacity building program for the fisher folks and also those people who have like overlapping responsibility at this industry? Annual beach cleanups or like, you know, quarterly beach cleanups should be organized and sponsored by the government and also NGOs in the Gambia to ensure our beach are cleaned enough so that we can attract the tourists who are coming down to the Gambia to enjoy our beach. But if the beach in Sanya and the Paradise Beach is messed up, Gunjur is messed up, Kado is messed up, there is no tourist who will be willing to go to the southern part of the country to explore that part of the country. That means instead of coming to the Gambia, they'll prefer to go to other destinations that their beach are well kept. So which is going to have like an overlapping effect on other industries too. So it is very important for the various ministers to look at all of these dynamics and see how can we come with a robust plan to ensure Gambians go to education about this industry. Gambians also have the awareness about the importance of this industry to see how best we protect and coordinate the various functions of our, you know, responsibilities of the marine and the resources that get in our beach.
Thank you. Thank you, Omar, for the solutions highlighted. Sam, you can come in and then we can go to Famara one more time and then we can close to wrap up. Yep.
Yep.
I guess
Thank
you
you.
have more information now to actually
now I can see
contribute.
what we're talking about. This is very interesting and very important topic because
and very educative too.
Definitely. And all of those that have spoken before me and the ones that I've listened to, have all said something very important. So, my little add to this or take to this is, when it comes to public safety, that's part of the things that I don't compromise. And there's, in my mind, there should not be any room for error at all in that. So to regulate all of these, and part of the solution for this, I always like to look for solutions, is our National Assembly getting with the right people, the right experts that know fisheries and make good laws first. The laws that we have need to be looked at and revised if necessary. So if not, make new laws to protect and reserve our environment, reserve our natural resources, because it's very important. The fish in Gambia can really feed all of Gambia. But we're allowing outsiders to come in and foreigners to come in and destroy our environment, destroy our natural resource, and profit from our natural resource, and allow Gambians to suffer and actually pay the high price for it. Okay, so START should be the National Assembly, working with the National Assembly committee responsible for environmental compliance. Really need to look at this very seriously. Work with fisheries, work with the experts on the ground, and work with the people that know about this, and really go out of their way to go find out, do a little research. Sometimes there are certain things you cannot just sit in an office and make laws when you don't know how it works. You need to know how it works. You need to know what's all involved in it, and regulate one, starting with licensing. Who is supposed to have license? Who can or who cannot have license to operate in Gambia? That's one. Then put in the environmental compliance piece and work with the government to come up with very, very strict laws about environmental compliance. I know what the Chinese are doing in Gambia. They will not be crazy to do that in America. You know why? Because there are very good laws here, and the laws are protected, and the laws are there, are enforced. They are very enforced, and they come with hefty fines. So we should not even see dead fish on our seashore. That should not happen. Should not have happened. And when it happened, our environmental compliance people, when they see that, if it was in America, they would have shut down the Chinese immediately. They would have shut down, because when they do their job, they go and supervise, they go and inspect. You always have to inspect what you expect. If you don't inspect what you expect, well, it will go out of control and it becomes detrimental to our country. So the environmental compliance need to go with follow the strict laws. After the National Assembly make strict laws for this, they go out and inspect. When they see minor violation, something that's a minor violation, they need to record it. And they need to be visiting these places like every 30 days, at least. Record it, create a citation, give them a citation that this environmental violation, even though it's minor, need to be corrected within a certain period of time. Just like how they do in America. I'm not comparing Gambia and America, but we're all human beings. We all deserve the same public safety, all right? So when I'm talking public safety, I'm talking very strict rules. They need to be able to inspect these people and say, hey, this is a violation, give them a citation and tell them this needs to be corrected within, there are, violations can come in 3 different forms. You have a minor violation, you can have a major violation, and you can have a critical violation. Critical violations are the top of it. They come with hefty fines. They come with immediate actions. They require shutdown, shut them down, shut the Chinese down, shut anybody. It doesn't matter who they are. Shut them down, make them correct it. All right. Give them citations, give them time to correct. Some citations can be correct within 7 days. Some can be within 48 hours. Some will be correct within 24 hours. There are some minor violations you can say you need to correct within 30 days. But our inspectors need to really make sure that they go back to verify. Because if you give them citation and you tell them to correct it within 30 days, at the end of 30 days, you need to go back and check. If it's not corrected, go to the next level. This is how inspectors operate in America, you know. And then there are certain things that could be just a mass citation. There are certain things that if you give them a citation for a major violation, for example, you come back a week later or 2 weeks or maybe a month later, and the violation still exists, then you need to go to fines. And our regulators, our National Assembly need to define all of these and give the power to environmental compliance agencies to be able to give fines up to a certain amount. For example, in America here, there are certain violations that can be up to $50,000. I'm sorry, not dollars, $50,000 per day per violation. So think about it. You have 3 different violations. It could be up to $50,000 per violation per day until that violation get corrected. So think about it. Gambia could have even gotten a lot of millions and millions and millions from Chinese if they have done their job. If we had implemented great laws for our country and followed through those laws, they would have fined the Chinese. The Chinese would have seen that, wow, they have to pay millions of days for those violations that they have, and they would have avoided it or face the next consequence. The next consequence will be shut down, revoke their license. We have the power. Our country has the power to revoke their license and say, you're not going to operate here anymore. We're going to make our own Gambian people operate by taking their license away for breach of contract. That's what you do. That's what nations do. The strong countries, that's what they do. So we should not play with our environment, and the Chinese are playing with us. The foreigners coming to fishing there are playing with us. And of course, our government need to empower our Marine force. Our Marine force need to be able to get out, give them the tools and technology they need to be able to patrol our sea. And anyone they can pay them well. They need to be paid very well also to be able to really do their job and not take any corruption. Not only that, you know, when you have people inspecting certain things, everyone has a supervisor. The Marine Corps go out, they should have people watching over them too. They should have people that watch them too. That way, if they happen to take a bribe and not stop something and allow it to continue, well, the supervisors will catch that. When they catch that, guess what? Disciplinary actions up to and including termination of the employment. When that happens, they take it very seriously. So those are the things that need to happen. I'm going to stop here. I know his hand's up and allow him to come in. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that, Sam. We will let Famara again. Thank you for reaching out and coordinating this. We will let you see what area is missing in the discussion, since you are, more seasoned than me on this. So who else has anything so we can conclude? We have about maybe 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think we covered the whole area. We talk about pollution, we talk about governance, we talk about lack of coordination, we talk about, biodiversity conservation, we talk about mining, we talk about tourism. So I think we covered a lot. It's a discussion that we can continue going on forever. But I think
one thing come to my mind is sand mining. I don't think people understand what effect that has. I'm a layman in this, but in this whole ocean. And so if you wanna maybe just scrub on that quickly, because I know sand comes from the relation of sand to the is it that because when you sand mine, you are taking sand from me, you are making ocean to be I just wonder, how does that affect the ocean? So that's something that you can, any one of you can answer. But yeah, so go ahead, Famara. I just thought about that. I didn't that.
Yeah, there are a lot of geomorphologies when it comes to sand, how it comes about and how the nature recycle back sand. But it is something which is a very concern for us because in Gambia, we depend a lot on sand for construction. And then we are taking a lot from these coastal areas that, actually they act as, ecosystem for the marine turtles, for example, for laying of eggs. But also this sand banks or sand dunes are also protecting us against the sea level rise, which is one of the climate change issues for the Gambia. As you know, our capital city is actually below sea level. And then some of the areas when there is an increase in sea level for 1 meter or even 0.5, some part of the capital will be inundated. And then we have also look at the history of coastal protection in the Gambia, from Radio C to the Muslim Cemetery, all the way down to Palm Grove Hotel and to the Sunwind. You know, you will see that there are a lot of interventions that have been done recently in the past 15 years, in 2000, say about 20 years ago or so. Yeah. So we spend a lot of money on that, but still we're depending on the sand, and this sand is coming from somewhere. And Combo South used to be very stable, despite the fact that we're mining sand over there. We have very good sand dune in Combo South. But you know what? If you look at the geomorphology, some of these sands that are coming from Banjul on this area come from those areas, because the nature of the sea is it takes sand from one location and dump into one area. So if you do whatever activity that we're doing in Combo South today, Banjul and other parts are going to be at the impact will be more realized in those ends, because that's where the sand is. And this is why the recent sand mining happening in Denton Bridge is becoming a concern for many of the people. Because when the Royal Haskoning, the Dutch company, was doing beach renourishment project in Senegambia and in Banjul and State House, some of the sand that they were beach nourishing is coming from Denton Bridge, because there is a very big, huge deposit of sand in that particular location. Because the bathymetric survey really shows that there is a huge amount of sand that is there, which is protecting the Banjul, because most of the sand flowing coming from those other end, they stuck in that there because there is a big sand deposit there. And that's what Royal Haskell actually used to do a big nourishment in front of the Banjul Cemetery and also towards the State House and Atlantic Hotel. You understand? So if we took that part of the sand, then obviously we are opening up a way, waterways that is actually going to obstruct the flow of sand, obviously, from that direction. So there's a lot of sand that need to be done. We need to do a bathymetric survey. But the sand mining is a huge issue for us, and we need to start finding an alternative to sand to construction. Otherwise, the way we're dependent on sand in the long run, is going to be a deficit, and it's going to have an impact on our coastal and marine ecosystem.
Thank you. I think
Informal talks about sand, but then those sand banks, the sand dunes, provide what they call the buffer zone between the high tide. Once there's a high tide of the ozone waves, it's the sand that protect us from sea level rise. Or you can talk about saltwater intrusion in the form of the wetlands. Because if you look at all these coastal communities in the Gambia, they use the wetlands, that's called the local furrows, for their vegetable garden and also rice paddies during the rainy season. So if you look at all the sand dunes, that's what we call saltwater intrusion, because then the proximity between that wetland, the brackish water, which is a combination of salt water and fresh water. Now that's more the salt intrusion into the wells of the vegetable gardens and also into the brackish water during the rainy season. So it does not make that place any longer suitable for vegetable gardening. It doesn't also make it any longer suitable for rice paddies. This is the problem we have right now in Sanya, in Gunju, and some part of Khartoum. Local women who depend on vegetable gardening can no longer use their furrows because there's saltwater intrusion. People who live very close to the coastline, their water turbidity, the water quality is not so good because the water becomes very much polluted because of it is very close to the water body. And also the water level also become very submerged, because then if you don't do all that excavation, there's no dune that can protect the buffer the seawater. Now there's easy access during the groundwater to penetrate to at least housing communities.
Yeah, that makes sense. That explanation also makes sense. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Omar. So I have Mohammed here saying that he said we oversight the recent oil spill as well. Yeah. So what can we quickly just cover that? Then we can wrap it up. We have Adesina here who would probably say something as well. And then where's Abby? Abby is gone. It would have been good to hear from her as a female as well. But yeah, so let's just address that, the oil split, and then the spill, and then Adesina can come in and wrap it up.
Maybe Adesina can come in, since we've been talking about before we switch to our oil spill. Maybe he has something to say about all this previous discussion.
Okay. Once again, my name is Additional Davis, and I'm the field and lab technician for GATE Institute and also the lead volunteer for Gambian Ocean News. It's good what everybody have shared their thoughts about what is happening in the Gambia, and also I want to talk about the Navy. Many of them don't have idea about our water bodies. Like I can tell you, since I'm the field and lab technician in the Gambia, I do most of the research. Mama Haida can attest to that. I go up country, like we had a project called Gambia Environmental Monitoring System, where we work with the communities, the high school students, the university students, to carry on this research to assess the water bodies. And because for each and every region, like you normally have the navies. So when you speak to them about what you are doing, they have no clue about the water bodies. They can only tell you that during dry season, Babatenda is more saltier, and then during rainy season, it's a bit fresh. That's all the knowledge they have. And then when you speak to them about the illegal fishing, they can say that some of these Malians, Senegalese intrude into the river and then do illegal fishing with different kinds of nets. But if you tell them what kind of net is advisable to carry on these fishing activities, they have no idea about it. So our work as a GATE Institute, we do most of the scientific research. When there's a problem, for example, if we find dead organisms on the shoreline, we don't just assume it's plastics or pollution or whatever, or chemicals. The first thing we do, we assess the water quality. We check for the pH level. We check the dissolved oxygen level. We check the turbidity. We check the temperature. So these are all the parameters we have. So once we have all of our readings, then we come back to the lab and then we try to assess, try to find out what is really the problem. That's why Gambian Ocean Heroes comes in. We assess the amount of waste being emitted by human beings, because when they go out in the field, let's say when they go for the picnics, they leave their trash out on the beach. And during high tide, it picks up the plastic and the trash, and then during low tide, it brings back. So now what we did was, we normally, like Ocean Heroes normally organize quarterly and yearly cleanups. So, and then within that period, within our yearly cleanups, we have a cluster survey wherein we assess the dominant waste along the coastline. So once we have the assessment of the dominant waste along the coastline, then we can record it. So based on this information we have, when there's a potential problem happen along this wetland or along the coastline or along the River Gambia, we can be able to know what is really the problem. Yes, we mentioned about these Chinese doing illegal fishing along the coastline. So, and some of them even intrude into the wetlands. Due to my survey, I have seen a lot of fish trawlers in the wetlands. And I asked myself, what are they finding? You have cleared the ocean, finished, and then now you are in the wetland. And when they do this illegal fishing, they don't affect the fish, they affect the food chain. Because if you are catching this juvenile fish, what do you expect the zooplankton or the plankton to survive on? Because the juvenile fish feeds on the zooplanktons. The zooplanktons depend on the phytoplanktons. So if you are taking out this juvenile fish, you are disturbing the food chain. What do you expect the bigger fish to eat from? So these are all the potential problems we have seen due to our scientific research along the coastline, along the wetland, along the River Gambia. Most of these Navy have no idea about what is going on. They only just tell them that stay here. If you see a boat, go and chase them, ask them what they are here for. And even when you speak to the Navy, some of them can be honest to tell you that, hey, listen, even the boats we're having, even the boat we're having is not in good condition. You can see with your eyes. The boat they're having is not in good condition. Even to have fuel, it's a problem. Like there was a Navy that told me in Babatanda, he said, if we want to chase these illegal boats that are doing illegal fishing, if we chase them, we don't have much fuel to come back. So in that note, we cannot go out and stop them. And that's really sad. And even the boat they are using, the speed limit is so low, they cannot catch these illegal people who are doing illegal fishing. Which is really, really sad. Yes, we have the policy. Are they active? Is the question. Are they active? We see the Chinese, they're including in our water bodies. What can we do towards these issues? 2 or 3 years down the line, we see what happened at Gunjun. The youth protest about these Chinese fishermen channeling their waste into the ocean, and they disturb the food web. And then it caused a lot of mortality of dead fish on the shore of organism. Recently, we found dolphin. Let's go back to 3 years back. When this youth protest, instead of the government act on it, they end up arrested the youth. Imagine, in your own country, your voice is not being heard. You speak up that this is happening in our marine ecosystem or our aquatic ecosystem. Most of these young people, their livelihood comes from the ocean. Most of our diet comes from the ocean. So if we are seeing illegal things happen and our voice is not being heard, then we are in trouble. We are in trouble. If our navies are not being equipped with the knowledge of environmental science or aquatic science, then we are in trouble. So what we do as a great institute, we educate students from high school up to university level. We also create a curriculum for them. We also have a program which we call Dive into Marine Science, wherein we educate them. I do most of the field work. I do most of the lab work with them. Mama Hada can attest to that because he has been with us for several times. I do most of this work and they have no idea. Sometimes I don't imagine what is really going on. We have our environment and these youths or these people don't even have an idea about what is going on. Yes, they may have some little local knowledge, but when it comes to scientific knowledge, they have no idea about it. So how best can we do to promote or to let them have an idea about the environment? This is where we normally create an awareness. Like World Ocean Day, we go to schools, we educate them about the ocean. We educate them about the River Gambia. Why is the River Gambia important? Why is the ocean important? We ask questions. Talking of, we tell them, River Gambia is known as the estuary. What is estuary? Then we educate them that this is where the river meets the ocean. Most of these students don't know about this. So this is where we come into play to educate them, give them the scientific knowledge, and then most times we do exchange local knowledge and scientific knowledge. Most times when we got content, like I can tell you, I was just from Basse on Friday because I do go there once every month to assess the flow of the sea level which have intrude into the River Gambia. And currently, the midpoint of the intrusion is at Babatenda. The salinity level is so high. It's really, really so high. And the decrease point is at Kau. So mainly from Kuntau down to Basse, it's a bit fresh, but it has some content of salt in it. So this has declined our food security. So these are all of the things we should look into. before we assume that, oh, this is this and this and this and this, we should look into how best we can involve government, how best we can educate our people to know that this is what is happening in the Gambia, how best we can work together and combat all of these climate issues. I can tell you, most people don't know. They're just assuming, but they don't know the scientific knowledge or the background, everything. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Before we go to the oil spill, you mentioned one thing about the the salt water now making its way. I used to be at Armitage High School, and then I used to travel through Bambatenda, where the salt water in the 1980s used to that was the migration line. Now, if you're saying that it's making its way towards Basse, Canada, that's scary, because that means we're gonna end up all that fresh water. When believe it or not, man, I used to go to the river and drink the water from Makati. That's how fresh and that's how this thing it was. We used, when the water supplies are out, we go straight to the river. I mean, we don't even care. I mean, like, and we nothing happens to us. So that shows that those fresh water, we need those. Although we need salt water, but our fresh water from Bambatenda are going all the way to Basse. But now, if you're mentioning that, they turn into be salty, then that's scary, because that means irrigation works might not be even. We need to look into that environment. I mean, that's a serious problem.
Yeah, I'm solely worried right now with the Farmers Association. But you know what? The dam they're also constructing, this OMVG dam, because most of our fresh water is coming from the Fuda Jalon. So when they construct this dam, it's going to reduce the flow of fresh water coming into River Gambia. And now the salt water is now pushing inland. So some of our fresh areas are now going to be salty as climate change also happening. So this is going to be another topic.
That's another topic of its own. But that's a great topic. Yeah. So let's just quickly talk about the oil split and the spills, and then we can just wrap it up. I think we've been online we are approaching 2 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, such an interesting discussion. Yeah. So how you want to just address that quickly, Mr. Hydra?
Thank you, Mr. Sawane. I think the oil spill recent happened in May 28 at Marina May. The Gambia petroleum is something that I believe everyone that when it comes to the marine and coastal environment of the Gambia, as well as agriculture, as well as even the health minister, everyone need to be concerned about this problem that happen there. But this is day to day, where things might happen that might the livelihoods of people, affect the social economy, and yes, still people are paying definitely. But sometimes we believe it's based on the awareness of people to understand how important this marine ecosystem play. Because when I talk about this marine ecosystem, we are talking about the ecosystem, which is the second largest GDP of this nation, and we are talking about as well food basket of this nation's source is coming from that's where this detrimental happen. Almost like 70,000 liters of petrol was accidentally litter in the riverbank that caused the spillage, and up to date there is no mechanism that have been put in place to make sure that that oil spill have been cleaned or them to use any able at least the heavy fuel that is flowing in riverbank. So because of this matter, so we started, raising awareness, started making a lot of investigation to see what will be the appeal from government. But all what we see is that like technical team, that is any Gambia Marine Administration and other sectors are only concerned about it. But the key main central organ of the government responsible for environment as well as the petroleum ministry, are not definitely taking any charge or responsibility, or even the government, concern themselves that it's an emergency to our marine environment as well as livelihood of people, because we now realize that even the fisher folks that are operating along, the Mandarin river banks are no more operating. And we're also aware that, some of the oil spill have reached so far have traveled all the way to Pirang, and it have already included the Pirang mangrove ecosystem, which is another fundamental, area where, we have series of mass, bird watches and others can be done in those areas. So all these things have been challenged, but yes, still, the government have not said much about it, and most people are not even aware about it, and even me, it seems like they are also in collide with the government in this small sector, or how we don't know how to say it. But this is definitely, and for us, like an emergency that everyone need to be aware, because 70,000 liter leaking in the river bank is something that we all need to be concerned. But we are proud that United Nations satellite have also revealed another amazing satellite feed, all the way from New York, United Nations by detecting based on their emergency detective satellite. They detect that the oil spill have a range of all the way that we already reported, because we did a survey and we realized it cover almost 40 to 50 kilometers of the riverbank. And now they also confirmed that, and they have already spotted out that it's some of the oil spill have reached Lamen, and it's reached Pirang, and most of it are within the Marine depot. So these are things that happen. I wanted to shed light on those things, and I believe my other colleagues will add something.
Okay, excellent. All right, so that being said, what is any final thoughts before we close? I mean, you guys this has been a great program, and then very interesting. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would benefit from this, our viewers. Famara, let's start with you. What is your final thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Sawane. It was been a very wonderful time discussion here. And then I want to thank all our guests, Mohammed Aydara, the Secretary General of Gambia Environmental Alliance, and all the other colleagues, Omar Adesina, and then also Mr. So of NACOFAC, and then the rest, Suleiman that left earlier on. Omar Sao, thank you so much. So I'm really happy to have all of these guys today for this very long and fruitful discussion on ozone affairs. I'm sure we'll come back with the oil spill. Since it's still ongoing, because right now the government has now called for international help. So this means that we don't have the capacity to deal with the oil spillage, and that's one of the process. And because at this point in time, since the oil was spilled, we should have actually, did some mechanisms, some control mechanisms, like putting the bombs around to control the spread. Like Mohammed said, it's now spreading over to other communities, 48 kilometers or 50 kilometers away from the area. So this means it's still going on, and still the Gambia government is thinking what to do. So on the paper, they have made some arrangements, but they are not doing much on the ground to control the water going. So while we are thinking what to do, the oil is being spilled, or it's been spread across the other marine ecosystem. So that really shows that we don't have the capacity when it comes to a natural disaster or even man-made disasters like this. So we need to be prepared. Our national contingency plan need to highlight, and we need to have the response quickly, because we have a national disaster response fund, which I believe is at the State House. I remember NDMA and all those things. So we need to, it really exposed a lot of gaps that we have in our country. Now they're calling for international support. I don't know whether it is Senegal coming in or another country coming in, I don't know. But in the process, I think we need to have the national disaster management to make that disaster declaration that this is what happened, and the magnitude we already know now, that is 70,000 liters that already spilled. And now what resources do we need that needs to clear out before we made international support? Because if you make an international support, they need to know what magnitude of the problem and what do you need, what resources do you need. Yeah, so there's a whole lot on this oil spill, but as we go along, we'll get more information, and we can even make another discussion on that area.
Yeah, thank you, Mfamara. Yeah, that and sand mining, we should do that, in the
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mfamara. Yeah, Sam, your final thoughts, and we can end with Mohammed, our guest.
Yeah, other than just saying thank you to all of you, and thank you, Mfamara, and thank you for all these people that really are online today, and for bringing them on, definitely. There's been very important discussions here today. So I want to thank everyone for their time and their efforts into this. But at the end of the day, too, is our government need to do their part. The government, there is a reason why you have a department called environment, and the environment ministry. Ministry responsible for environment need to do their job. They just cannot be called environment and not do the right thing for the environment. It looks like having a name there, but really no purpose. And if they can't do anything and can't identify what they need to get it done, and at the end of the day, too, again, our National Assembly need to make good laws by doing some consultation with people like some of you that spoke here today. They really need to know what is out there to be able to make laws for it. So very important discussion. So thank you. I won't say too much today, but just wanted to thank everyone for your time. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Anybody else? Omar, who has final words before we go to Hydra? Omar, Adesina.
Well, I want to say thank you to Famara and the entire panelists here. We're going to get down there. It's going to be a rough and bumpy road, but eventually we're going to get down there. If you look at the whole advocacy in Gambia, 5 years ago, we don't have too many people passionate about the environment, especially young folks. But come 2022, here we are today. We have so many young people across the land and of the Gambia who are so much passionate, not only about the ocean, but the entire climate change, environmental conservation, and as well as protecting the Gambian coastline. In the next 5 years, 10 years from now, we're going to be able to hold the Gambia government accountable, because we can have at least an informed citizenry people who are going to be at least so much aware about some of these issues, and they're going to hold the government account. So I thank you all for your time, and then see you next time.
Yeah, I'm overwhelmingly impressed with the energy and the youthfulness of you guys. I'm pretty sure your impact would I'm now more hopeful than ever about the environment. But thank you guys. Thank you. Adesina.
Also, thank you to everyone for attending and share their thoughts about everything. And concerning the Ocean Conference that will take place in Lisbon, we have one from our office. She's a Gambian. She will represent us at the office at the conference in June 23rd to 2029 for the Ocean Conference in Lisbon. So, Mr. Sam, hope you will welcome her as she's your fellow Gambian. Her name is Betty Jate, so she'll be there live and direct to present the work we are doing in the Gambia.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks for that information. Definitely, we look forward to that, and I always look forward to government sending people to such conferences to be able to learn something and bring it back to our country and help our people, and do the right thing. So thank you, definitely. Good to hear that.
Thank you. All right. So if we don't have anyone, then our main guest here, Mohammed. So your final
Mr. So is still there.
Mr. So, Aliu, you comment, final thoughts?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be part of this very important sharing of experiences and issues. I want definitely us to come back to the issue of the salinity as farmers organization. Yeah, severely challenged by the salt intrusion, both in terms of upland and lowland rice production, and also in terms of vegetable gardening, not only at the estuaries, but even upland at the vegetable garden. When you dug a borehole, you can realize some more salt intrusion into the water. So I will definitely want to see some aspect and solution towards that. Thank you very much.
Very good. I think Adesina will help us in that. And also in water resources management, we see a lot of people digging boreholes in their backyard. Do they have to get a permission from water resources to do this? And then whether we know whether we are actually, over exploiting our aquifers, I don't know. That will be another topic we'll look at. But Adesina, this issue about salinity,
I think now we have 3 topics that that are on pipeline.
Right.
Salinity is also added to that. Yeah. So let's keep we can hear you. You are muted.
Oh, hello.
I said
okay.
The encourage of the salt water into our cropland We have discussed with several communities to do mangroves reforestation by zonation, which means there are different mangrove species we have in the Gambia. We have the black, the red, the white, and the bottom cutting mangrove. So the black mangrove is highly salt resistant. So it should be planted along the, and then from then you have the red mangroves, and then you have the white and the bottom cotton. So as the water digests into the inland, then the mangrove will be able to filter the water and reduce the salinity level of the water. So by the time it gets to the agricultural or the agricultural land, then the salinity might be reduced. Because I can tell you, like I was in Babatenda yesterday, the salinity is about 23%, and then at Kau is about 13.15%. But along Quintao and Bansa, Basse, it's 0.04. So, which means if we plant more mangroves by zonation, we can able to help to combat this inclusion we are facing currently.
Yeah,
yeah. So that
it's a lot of solutions that need to be explored. Yeah, but we just have to discuss about it, and then the people who are responsible to take actions, take those actions. All right. Thank you so much. So we have Hydra. You can close it, and then we can definitely. Barbara will facilitate another meeting. So we have 3 topics on the line: the oil issue, spills, and then we have the sand mining, and now we have the salinity. Those things, yeah. All right, go ahead, Hydra. Analyze.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Sawane, Mr. Drani, and the rest of the crew that are here. This is really amazing. I'm glad that we have the import ocean, as well as the interest issue that the Gambian Marine and coastal environment are facing. So I would definitely look to more engagement if we could, share more ideas, because I'm so glad that I'm in the same forum with my seniors that are here in this forum. I really learned a lot from Mr. Farmer, Omar, and the rest of the crew. This is really amazing. So I'm a bio major. I didn't mention that. I'm a biology major, PhD. So I hope very soon then I look forward to be like people like Mr. Farmer, and contribute my quota in the, in my country definitely. So thank you very much. To be here.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you, Farmer, for coordinating this this session, and then you can share. It's on the chat. You can share the links to this links on the chat. Just share it with the groups. And again, next time we can promote it more so a lot of people can be aware of it. Yeah. So definitely, thank you all. And then a lot of interesting, things has been said here. But thank you for stepping up.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you all, and bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Bye. Thank you.